Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid and another morning ramble. Guys, do our pets, do the animals that we have, maybe our livestock or even the wild animals around us, near and far, do they know and understand things more than we think they do? Do they understand things about us more than we realize they do? For instance, our pets. Let's go with our pets for now. Guys, I notice connections. I'm very observant. Most of you who are here are very observant, and we notice things. You guys have noticed things going on here with me and my family and our animals through the videos you watch. And enough of you have pointed out one particular thing that several of you have noticed that it's time for me to finally address it. It's become somewhat of an elephant under a rug. And it basically, well, it's my cat, Cleopatra, and I'll go into detail here in a second. But it brings up this entire topic of not just animal instinct, but animal intuition. Now, I didn't research this too deeply this morning before coming up here and talking about this, because I didn't want to have my views on this topic swayed by any research I might find. Okay, what is it? The difference between instinct and intuition. There is a difference, and so I wanted to check that out to make sure I could speak on that accurately. But now, as far as the animal intuition and our pet's intuition, I didn't go into that because I want to explain a series of events which many of you have noticed and have pointed out, like you've been screaming it at me almost through the comment section. And then I want to get your thoughts on this. Okay, so instinct. Animals have instinct. That is just kind of naturally knowing what to do in certain areas. It's kind of like instinct is very closely related to some of our body processes, our involuntary processes like breathing. You know, we do it without thinking about it. The strongest instinct for all animals is, of course, the instinct to reproduce, eat, survival, reproduction, and whatnot. But then there's intuition, okay? Intuition is basically knowing without knowing. Sounds like an oxymoron, or but I mean, you guys understand this. It's like knowing something is going to happen, or knowing that something is the way it is without actually having evidence of that yet. Now, people have this too. People of some cultures have it more than others. I think American culture has tried to take this out of us more than any other culture around the world. Western cultures in particularly, I think we've lost a lot of our intuition because we've been told it's bad, it's wrong. We've often referred to it as our gut feelings, our gut instinct, our spidey senses. We're taught in the West not to listen to it, and it really sets us up for failure in a lot of areas. Through my experiences in life, through military service and through living overseas and non-Western nations for many years, it learned to very quickly begin listening to that intuition, those gut instincts, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt doing so kept me alive. Whereas if I had listened to my rational thought, I believe in rationale and all that stuff, but when you take somebody out of their natural environment where everybody kind of thinks and views things, has the same paradigm as we talked about in a recent video, paradigm shifts. You take somebody with a certain paradigm out of their natural environment and you stick them somewhere where the paradigm is completely opposite, all reason and rationale goes out the window, and you better listen to those instincts. So now, with that said, we're here to talk about animal intuition, or you better listen to that intuition, not the instincts. You better listen to instincts and intuition if you want to survive and stay alive. But now here's what's going on, and I want your thoughts on this. Many of you have already weighed in, and that's kind of, well, I mean, that is what brought about this topic here for this morning's morning ramble. About a week or 10 days or so ago, I mentioned about how I'd had a nightmare This was, I think the talk was about sometimes the craziest people we know are the crazy people that live inside of our own heads. And I talked about how my day started out at like 3:30 a.m. or something with a nightmare. And well, my cat waking me up, and she woke me up while I was having a nightmare. Well, several of you commented on that video that the reason Cleopatra, my cat, woke me up was because I was having that nightmare, and she knew it. And I didn't respond to those comments, like this through the form of another video at the time. And it's not because I thought those comments were crazy or even that I disagreed with them, but probably because I knew you had a point, because I don't discount such things. So several days later, the same thing happened. I didn't tell you guys about this in any video, but Cleopatra woke me up again in the middle of the night. And as I woke up, and my first instinct was to kind of be upset with her for waking me up again. But then it occurred to me that yet again, she'd woken me up in the middle of a nightmare. And so I immediately remembered the comments that some of you folks made about how she woke me up because I was having a nightmare. I don't think there's a coincidence between when my cat wakes me up and the type of dream I'm having when she does it. I think I've been paying more attention to it recently, because I mentioned it really in passing. I just mentioned it in passing during that video, and enough of you guys and girls kind of pointed that out to where, I couldn't not be consciously aware of it when it happened again. So now, yesterday morning, I was up here doing the morning ramble. When I began the video, I started to make a statement that I never finished because Cleopatra came running up the hill. I'll put that video on the end of this one so that if you missed yesterday's ramble, you can go back and watch it and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We get hundreds of new subscribers a day, and a lot of times they come to the channel. And so if this is the first video you're seeing from me, at the end of this video, there's going to be a little box showing yesterday's video. Watch that for backstory so I don't have to give it here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I started by saying this is only the second time I've ever done this. I don't script these videos. I'm not reading the script right now. Sometimes I'll bring notes up if I prepare notes, because I want to make sure I'm being accurate in what I'm talking about if research was involved. But I don't script these. I go off the cuff. Sometimes I just wake up knowing what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes I'll get an idea of what I'm going to talk about from comments you folks leave, like this video this morning. Sometimes maybe something happened I wanted to talk about, but it's never scripted. Neither is Dearly's. That's why sometimes you'll hear me say, no, you dip your green tomato back in your Jiffy Lube mix and then you put it in the pan. It just happens. And sometimes you'll hear Dearly say in her cooking videos to preheat your microwave oven to 350 degrees. We just wing it. We don't script it. So anyway, I started to say yesterday that I was restarting the video, and here's why. In yesterday's video, I talked about Charlottesville, because I live in Charlottesville, outside of Charlottesville in Albemarle County. And I talked about going into town, having a wonderful day, feeling great, seeing all the wonderful people of Charlottesville. Charlottesville's a beautiful town. But then I walked by a bookstore window, and here's all these books, and they're target marketing people who feed off of the media's spin on how much we all hate each other in this country for all these different reasons because of our differences. And oh, look at this, Charlottesville's a town where they burn the city to the ground. All 2017 they were burning the city to the ground. And how I just had to break myself away from these messages being sent out from the covers and titles of these books at this bookstore, and then make sure to look around to see the reality of what Charlottesville was. People of all ethnicities and races hanging out together, having coffee, enjoying conversation. That's Charlottesville, folks. So anyway, when I first started making that video, I went for 10 minutes, just I was worked up. And so I stopped, and I deleted that and started over again, because I'm here to spread the love, not the hate. I'm here to spread the good news, not the bad. And I'm here to share the facts, not the spin. And thank you for so many of the comments that were left yesterday on that video, because that's why you guys are here too. That's why we're getting these subscribers, because you guys, like us and like me, we're done with mainstream media on both sides, the left and the right. We are done with turning on their networks and leaving feeling so upset and so anxious and either so depressed or so angry that it ruins the rest of our day. Somebody commented about how the talking points are all the same. They rehash them throughout the day. You know, as of this recording, it's Sunday. I know it's common on Sundays, they'll rehash the talking points for the entire week. So they'll just remind you of all the things they told you to be angry and hateful about for the entire previous week, and they destroy your Sunday. Guys, I hope you start your Sunday here with us, with the Morning Ramble, talking about stuff like animal intuition and feeling positive, because we have decided to, they talk about ratings, we're going to rate them with our silence because we're just not watching. Enough said. So I was so worked up about this yesterday, I stopped the original video I started, deleted it. I started again, and I started to tell you that, but I never finished my statement because, if you'll remember, and as you can watch by going back to that video at the end of this one, Cleopatra, my cat, came charging up the hill, and you'll remember during the entirety of that video, almost the entirety of that video, she sat on my lap, she purred, she let me pet her. She calmed me down to the point to where I could have the morning ramble without being upset and angry and anxious because of the things that I saw blaring out of the window of this bookstore on the downtown mall in Charlottesville yesterday. I don't think that was an accident. And so many of you folks who saw that video commented, you don't think that's an accident either. And I talked about how I saved Cleopatra from the SPCA. She was a rescue cat. Well, I didn't save her from the SPCA. I got her from the SPCA. The SPCA saved her from a bathroom in the mall on Route 29. It's called Seminole Trail Mall, I think. That's where this cat was found when she was a kitten, about 2.5 years ago. We went and got her the day after we closed on this house. Here's the full story, quick version, promise, on how we got Cleopatra. Animals in every culture around the country, around the world, are treated differently. When I was a mailman, I had a conversation with a couple who had some rescue dogs, and they were telling me how terribly dogs were treated in America, and they both worked at the university. I listened to them, and I shook my head, and I started telling them stories about how dogs are treated elsewhere. And I'm not going to mention the places, and I'm not going to tell the stories because I just don't want to put that garbage in your head. But folks, I've been around the world, and if you think, and there are people who abuse animals everywhere. There are people in America who should not have animals because of how they treat them. There are animals within miles of me, I'm sure, that I don't know about being mistreated. Folks, you go to some other places and see what's going on in other places, and you will come back and kiss the ground, as I did every time I came back to this country, for many reasons, not just your freedoms, but okay, I'm just going to tell you, I've seen some things I will never share with you because I don't want to give you nightmares. But Cleopatra was left in a bathroom at a mall. Somebody found her, took her to the SPCA. We went to the SPCA and got her because when we're in the Philippines, most of the cats there, like the overwhelming majority of them, are feral. You see them in the streets. We used to feed some where we lived, our last house there in Davao City. And even then, as often as we fed them and as frequently as we fed them, they would never let us touch them. I mean, they were wild. They were wild. Okay, and this is so common that we spent our last 6 months there in Manila. We had to stay close to the embassy because they could finalize Dearly's visa any day. And we wanted to be able to, once we got the call, hey, it's here, it's ready, come get it. I wanted to go get it, go back home, get online, buy airplane tickets, and leave the next day to come back to the U.S. And that's what we did once we finally got the visa. So, and the airport there is in Manila. So I wanted to be close to everywhere. And I love the Philippines. I loved living in the Philippines. I don't mean, oh, I couldn't wait to get out of there. It's not that. It's not that I couldn't wait to get out of there. I enjoyed it there, and I'm looking forward to going back for visits. I couldn't wait to get to the U.S. was my point. And I couldn't wait to bring my family to the U.S. was my point. But when we were in Manila, there was actually a cat petting business. There were these two guys, Filipino guys, wonderful guys, who ran a business where you basically paid, I think it was 100, maybe 200 pesos for 30 minutes. That's $5. You go in and for 30 minutes you could pet their cats. They had some domesticated cats, and they were of no particular special breeds. These were not $10,000 cats. These were typical American Shorthair cats. It's just they weren't feral. They were domesticated. So you'd go into this room and the cats had their towers and their toys, and for roughly $5 US you could pet these cats. That's how rare domesticated cats are in that particular part of the world. So we would go there, and Daniel fell in love with cats, my son. So he wanted a cat, wanted a cat, wanted a cat. When we got to the US, we were in an apartment for a few months before we found the house we wanted to buy here, and put a contract in on it and ratified it and all this stuff, and moved in. So we kept telling Daniel, once we buy our own house and we can have pets, we're gonna get you a cat. So we went to the SPCA the day after we bought this house, and we got Cleopatra. From day one, she was skittish of all of us. She took to me first, she took to me quickest, and she's taken to me the most. And I shared that in the video yesterday. So yesterday, she comes charging up the hill. She's never done that. She's not here now. Look, this is a morning ramble. She follows us around the homestead when we take our walks, and Tracy G in England commented that she's making sure to keep her eye on me so that I don't get away, like I'm her slave, and she wants to make sure the slave doesn't escape. And I laughed, but I also agree with Tracy G on that. We don't own our pets, they own us. So anyway, especially with cats. So I honestly believe Cleopatra was down there, and she's down there somewhere right now listening to me. I know she can hear me. She's within hearing distance of me. I honestly think, and here's where you're going to probably say, crazy Lake, you're crazy again. I honestly believe, and this is after I started thinking about you guys leaving in comments, that Cleopatra was waking me up because I was having nightmares, and I've started thinking more about this and realizing it's also happened in the past. I believe Cleopatra came running up this hill yesterday because she knew I was upset. I believe she was down there and she heard me talking about the things I was talking about those books in the bookstore window, sending out these signals of, hey, let's stir up that hate, let's stir up that anger, let's induce an anxiety attack so you'll come in here and buy this, and we can keep fueling these issues, and we can keep making money off of them. I don't let them profit from me, from what they continually like to stir up. I tune it out. That's why we don't have TV. That's why we don't have cable. That's why I don't listen to the mainstream media. Somebody commented yesterday about how they had just found out within minutes of seeing yesterday's video that a particular senator had died, and he had passed away a couple days ago. That's how out of touch she is with the media, and I commend her. Somebody else commented they got rid of their cable 5 years ago. They got rid of Facebook years ago. I told Dearly this morning, honey, go on to Fakebook, I call it Fakebook, and deactivate our Homesteading Off the Grid Fakebook page. We don't use it. We don't need to have people going over there trying to contact us. Fakebook is as guilty as the mainstream media when it comes to stirring up, continually keeping these issues going to induce and continue to stir hate, anxiety, fear, all these things for profit. So I said, honey, get rid of it. So if you have been to that page here soon, hopefully you're going to see that it's down, because hopefully she's down there doing it right now. But I believe Cleopatra knew I was so upset because I was focusing on that stuff. She came up here to calm me down. And look how effective she was. I started to tell you everything I just told you in yesterday's video, but the minute she jumped on my lap and started purring, and I started petting her and talking about her, I got derailed, and I never came back onto that track, and I never told you these things. And that's why I wanted to come up here and tell you about this today. So guys, here's my question for you. Am I right about what I'm talking about here? Do our pets know more about us than we realize? You know, Cleopatra was a rescue cat, but did I really rescue her, or did she rescue me? I mean, I've been open about this. I've shared this. I've never hidden it, and it's what's brought a lot of you to the channel. I have PTSD from my experiences in Iraq and my experiences after Iraq. You know, it's not so much what happens to us when we're in war. It's the life we come home to that resembles nothing of the life we had when we left. Family gone, money gone, and it's like, wow, this is my new normal, and I wasn't planning on this. I come home, I'm happy to have made it home, but where's the life I left, you know? Cleopatra she saved me. She saves me at night from my nightmares. She came up here yesterday and saved me from the anxiety attack I was having during the ramble because of what I saw when I was in town. What's your take on it, folks? I mean, this topic is out there, but a lot of you come to this channel, you subscribed, you stay here and you watch because this topic's a lot more pleasant than the one they'd show you if you turned on your television, isn't it? I think so. And this topic doesn't try to convince you to hate somebody because they're different than you. This topic, I guess if anything, my takeaway would be, you know, we already love our pets and we love our animals. We should probably love them a little bit more, shouldn't we? And realize they play a more important role in our lives than we originally thought. I went to get this cat for my son because he loved going over and spending $5 US at the cat petting place in Manila while we were waiting on his mother's visa and his certificate of registration of birth abroad, or whatever they call it. He fell in love with cats. We come home, we get a cat, we think we're getting it for him, but it turns out we're getting the cat for me. We thought we were getting a rescue cat, but she rescued me. And she continues to do it at night when I have my nightmares, and she did it yesterday morning when she came charging up here while I was having an anxiety attack. So now that I've talked about this and I've been open and I've been honest, I'm going to go research it some more. But again, I didn't research this whole thing before I talked about it because I didn't want anything I found in research to sway my views. The views I've just given you are my views based upon my experiences with my cat Cleopatra. So have you had similar experiences with your pets? You know, it's like the deer that we see in the fields. They're constantly here, and we would see them several times a week, but when I came up here and spoke the words and made a video that we had decided we are not going to kill these deer on our property, we're going to protect them, we're not going to let anybody else kill them, and we're letting this entire back meadow, 2.5 or 3 acres, grow up to be their meadow, and next spring during planting season we're going to put particular crops out for them to eat. Every day we see literally small herds of deer in our field, in our meadow back here all day long. There's a herd of 7 or 8 deer that just at any given time when we come out the door, they're up here. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think animals, be they our pets, be they the wild animals in our immediate vicinity, know more than we give them credit for knowing. So let me know your thoughts on this. I'm not going to keep you. I've got a beautiful little boy down there who's getting over his chicken pox. It didn't break out as much as we feared it would. He's already on the mend, so I've got to go down there and snuggle with him and snuggle with his mama, and we're going to get into our day. Hope you guys have a good day. Hope you enjoy your Sunday. I hope you spent your morning getting your talking points from us, not from them. You know who they are, okay, one way or the other. Anyway, here's your beautiful parting shot of the homestead, and we'll see you for more next time from Homesteading Off the Grid.